Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, cousins, of course, and mops and pops, or if you prefer, grandmothers and grandfathers, and baseball fans everywhere, welcome to this edition of the Valley League Baseball Video Podcast. Boy, oh boy, do we have a week in store for you. This is kind of the coaches' week at the Valley League Podcast. On tap for Monday night, we're going to talk to Eddie Smith of LSU. As Eddie says, look, nobody's won more championships and nobody's been to Omaha. Nobody more than LSU. We're also going to go out to Catcher's U and talk to Jan Jaffe, Georgia Tech for the rest of you. On Wednesday, we're going to be talking to Brian O'Connor, 1990 Turk Brian O'Connor, turned UVA coach. And on Thursday, we're going to talk to Sam Perlazzo. Yeah, you know him. I know you do. Yep, we're talking to him. Guess what? 1970s. Early 70s, he was a new market rebel. Yeah, who knew? Well, that's the whole point of this podcast. So now that you know what's on tap for this third week of the Valley Baseball League video podcast, let me turn it over to Joe Harmon with tonight's conversation with Eddie Smith. Joe, take it away.
Thanks, Graham. It's a real pleasure to be here with you today, and I am joined by Eddie Smith, assistant coach for the LSU Tigers. Eddie, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Joe. Really appreciate it.
Now, you are actually in the ball team's clubhouse, it looks like.
Yeah, right here at Alex Box Stadium, under the first base dugout, we've got our clubhouse and locker room, and thought this would be a fun drop back to do everything on.
That is the coolest. No offense to anybody else we've had on the show, but that is the coolest backdrop we've ever had.
Well, I hear my competition's strong, so I want to make sure to make a statement early on here.
Well, you know, my guest bedroom here is no comparison here at my house, but at least you get to hang out somewhere cool during the quarantine. So, like I mentioned, Eddie, you are the assistant coach and the hitting instructor for the LSU Tiger baseball program. How long have you been there?
You know, I got this opportunity last summer, so we were right in the middle of my first season here, and then the world has been throwing a curveball, so quarantine has shook up the first year.
Well, you're no stranger to big-time college ball. Looking at your coaching career rundown, you were at Tulane for 3 seasons prior to joining LSU. You were the head coach at Lower Columbia College. Can't say I'm familiar. I apologize, but is that there in Louisiana?
Lower Columbia is actually in the state of Washington, which is my home state. So.
Okay. And Notre Dame, Santa Clara, and you were an assistant coach at those as well as at University of Virginia in Charlottesville.
Yep.
And you worked with with head coach O'Connor there, I take it. You were there from 2007 to 2011, 5 seasons.
I did. Yep, that was my first job in coaching.
Yeah. So tell it. We had Brian O'Connor on the show recently. Great guy, phenomenal interview. What was it like? What did you learn from him?
Everything. It was my first 5 years in coaching, and so very, very formative years as a coach. And my first 2 years, I was in a role called the Director of Baseball Operations, which I think it should be a prerequisite for everybody who wants to get into coaching to spend a year or two doing that, because you get to follow the head coach around and handle things like budgets and travel and communication with the academic departments, the equipment departments, and everything else you could imagine that you never think about when you're a fan or a player. And, that was a really important time for me as a coach to learn how a program works. And then the next 3 years I was an assistant coach, and again, just learned a ton and had a lot of great memories there.
Yeah, and now you're at LSU. Again, obviously a huge program, top notch. What's the accolade, the appropriate accolade for the LSU baseball program? I'm trying to come up with the right word here, and it's other than just phenomenal and awesome. That's just, what can we say? So, like you said, you're just in your first year there, and as things got thrown off the rails. But what's that experience been like? I mean, the stadiums are bigger, I imagine. The immediate attention is there's more of it. Tell us about what it's like.
It's probably the pinnacle of college baseball, Joe. And
pinnacle. That's the word I was looking for. Pinnacle.
I think that's the word that sums it up. We have 25 straight years of leading the country in attendance. In those years, we've been to Omaha more than anybody else, and we've won more championships than anybody else as a baseball program. And, I think along with those things comes a lot of excitement with the program. The fans, not only are they large in numbers, but their enthusiasm, their care for this program is just unlike anywhere else. We have a media following here that's extensive. The whole state of Louisiana, for a lot of people in Louisiana, there's not a local major league team. So we are the major leagues, and they grow up as kids getting a chance to go to an LSU game or two every year, no matter where they're from in the state. And the players that play for LSU are their heroes, and that's where they learn to play the game from. And, there's just nothing else like it out there.
Yeah. So, we us here at the Valley Baseball League in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, we see players from the LSU team and from the conference come up to play in our games every year. As a coach, having been a head coach as well, what does the VBL bring to your program? What does it represent for you and your players?
There's several college summer leagues out there that we send our players to every year. But when I think of the Valley League, I think of a place that I know we can send our players to several teams that we have relationships with in that league and know that they're going to have an experience that's fun, it's developmental, and most importantly, it's going to have the players' interest at heart, where if it's a pitcher, and this is really important from a college coach's perspective, a pitcher is going to get the amount of innings that is appropriate for him. If a pitcher pitches on Tuesday, he's not going to be asked to come back into a game on Thursday having thrown 100 pitches on Tuesday. And from a college coach's perspective, that's so critical because these summer leagues are so important for a player's development. But at the same time, there's a double-edged sword of when our players are outside of our program, the last thing we want is for them to return in August or September with an injury. And so I think what I think of in the Valley League is a bunch of established programs that know how to do it the right way all around the Valley that, take both of those things into account, take care of the players, but also, have a true, program there for development. That's huge for us.
Well, that's great. That's quite a great endorsement of what is going on up here in the Valley Baseball League. Now, you're a hitting instructor with LSU, and tell me about the wooden bat aspect of the summer college leagues.
I think it's a good thing for our players to go get that experience in the summer leagues with the wood bat. I hope that everybody in this locker room has a dream of playing in the major leagues, and obviously, the major leagues and your entire time in professional baseball, you're using a wood bat. So I think that part of that development we're talking about is transitioning from the aluminum to the wood bat, maybe for the first time in your life, certainly for the first time in your life against quality pitching every day. And it certainly separates the men from the boys. It's something where if you can hit with wood, you can hit with anything. You put one of these aluminum lightning rods in your hand when you get back into the college season, and all of a sudden that's a huge boost of confidence after swinging the wood all summer. So I think it's a great thing. I think it helps our players develop a true swing, and I think it helps our players develop for professional baseball, which are all important things for us. Yeah.
Now, Eddie, did you play summer college ball when you were in the game?
I did. I was in a unique era where American Legion was still a very prominent thing in baseball, and I was young for my grade in American Legion. I actually just made an adjustment my freshman year of college, so I was able to play actually American Legion the summer after my freshman year of college still. But the summer after my junior year of college, I got to play in what was the CICL at the time, Central Illinois Collegiate League. It's now merged and become Prospect League, but played right outside of Chicago in a little town called Naperville. Great summer, great experience baseball-wise. And, I think one thing that's really cool about these summer leagues that's kind of something that might fly under the radar is you have great teammates that you meet from all over the country, but then you have host families. And I'll never forget my host family from that summer, the Cranes family. They were one of a kind. John Cranes was the father, Jill the mother. They were a great family. They had 2 young kids at the time, and it was a summer of a lifetime. And they they aren't just host family anymore to me. They've become family to our whole family. So it's a pretty cool thing in that way.
Wow. Yeah. The host families here that we talk to through the Valley Baseball League stay in touch with the players that host them sometimes, for more than one season. And they do. They become tight-knit families for years and years. And we hear them say that they stay in touch with their guys, that some that go on to the pro careers in ball, others that, move on and other careers. But they know everything about them, whether it's 10, 15, 30 years later.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to interrupt the conversation just for a couple minutes. First and foremost, we welcome your feedback. If you've got a suggestion or something you want us to talk about on the show, reach out to us, vbleague@isomermedia.com. That's vbleague@isomermedia.com. Or you can put it on YouTube in the comments. It's right up there. I guess it's right up there. Or you could hit us up on Facebook. We watch all that stuff. Or Twitter. Tweet us. Yeah, tweet us. All right. Before we get back to the conversation, I want to pay tribute to one of the great sponsors of the Valley Baseball League, best-selling author, New York Times best-selling author, and Valley Baseball League friend and sponsor, Grace Burrows. She's got a new book out. Take a look. All right, so last year we were saying if you can't find romance on the baseball diamond, look no further than Grace Burrows. Here's the deal. If you're finding romance on the baseball diamond, we want to hear about it. Call us, write us, text us, whatever. If you're finding romance out there now, we want to hear about it. All right, now back to the conversation with Eddie Smith.
You attended Notre Dame as a player too, so you came from a pretty prestigious program yourself, and you started in Centralia Community College. Am I saying that one right? Up there in
That's
Washington,
correct.
Yeah. So tell us about going to Notre Dame as a player. What was your first impression when you walked onto the field for your first game in your uniform there?
Gosh, I remember it like yesterday. Notre Dame was a place that I dreamed about growing up going to for college, playing football actually, but
Really?
it ended up being baseball that ended up being able to play. But first game, my junior year, we were at Central Florida to open the season, and walking out there and walking into the batter's box for the first time that opening day, that was an experience. I'll never forget it.
Yeah. Could you smell the grass? Did it smell different? Did it smell awesome than the other fields?
Well, it certainly did that day, because let me tell you something about February in South Bend, Indiana. There's been snow on the ground for about 3 months, which is why you open in Central Florida. And so to see the grass was quite the pleasure at that point. But
Good point. Yeah.
Having grown up thinking about Notre Dame my whole life and loving the university, and been fortunate enough to go to a few football games as a kid there at Notre Dame, just fall in love with the place. To get to wear that uniform, it really was a dream come true. I mean, as a kid, I could have never imagined being so fortunate, and to get to play there was pretty awesome.
And now you wear a uniform for the LSU Tigers in their dugout.
Yeah, talk about amazing experiences. Again, they call this place Alex Box Stadium the Mecca of college baseball, and to get to wear this uniform, you know how big it is when you're on the outside, and you always maybe dream about being at a place that's of LSU stature. But I think when you get on the inside here, it's even more prestigious than you could ever imagine with the following and how much it just means to this region. There's nowhere else in college baseball where a region embraces their sports team like Louisiana does for LSU. And, to get to wear this uniform, there's a lot of pride that comes along with that.
Yeah, you're obviously you've had a great career up to this point, and you certainly deserve the position you're in. I'm sure you're contributing a lot to that program. If I could just bring it back to the VBL again, when you look at when you're talking to your players, you're in the batting cage, you're in the dugout, or you're there in the clubhouse where you're sitting right now, and you're having conversations about what the options are. What clicks in your head when you say this guy is right for a summer college league, or this guy is particularly good for the Valley Baseball League?
Yeah, that's a really interesting process, Joe. The process has been sped up so much now. I think that everybody in the Valley League will tell you they're starting in July and August to get the next year's roster start to be assembled.
Yeah.
And so we're doing the same thing. And oftentimes it's our incoming freshmen and even our current freshmen on our roster that we're talking to and getting squared away as far as where they need to go for the summer. And our goal is always to put them in a league that is going to challenge them, but is also going to allow them to have some success. And, I think it's something where the Valley League has proven to just be a really good place for a lot of our current freshmen, frontline current freshmen, to go spend that summer after a freshman year. And, the reality is that not a whole lot of freshmen get to play every day or pitch in a rotation as a freshman at the four-year schools, no matter what level you're at. And so that summer is so critical. And having a league like the Valley League where we know they're going to play good competition from all over the country to send them to has been huge for us. That guy who maybe played 50% of the time for us, maybe not quite a Cape Cod caliber player yet, but maybe after a year at the Valley League and then a good sophomore year, he gets that opportunity the next summer. Those tend to be the guys that we feel like really profile best for the Valley League.
So Eddie, I think you had 3 players slated from your program to join us up here in the Valley this year. What were those names?
Yeah, we did. Going into the summer before the cancellation, Mitchell Sanford was going to go to Charlottesville, and then Mikhail Hilliard and Jacob Hasty both were going to go to Charlottesville also. And Mitchell Sanford was a freshman outfielder for us, wound up playing quite a bit this year in our short season. And then Jacob Hasty was a freshman left-handed pitcher who got a lot of appearances early on for us. And Mikhail Hilliard actually is a junior pitcher, but he's had a great career here already, was battling a little bit of arm fatigue early on in the season. And, this summer was going to be such a great opportunity for him up there. But we were really excited about all 3 of those guys playing together, playing in the Valley League. And, I had a little piece of my heart there, and that they were going to Charlottesville, Virginia, which was my home for 5 years. And I know that organization very well, and they put their heart and soul into putting together a good product.
Yeah, well, they're our defending champions too. Yeah. So, and that brings me to maybe the tougher question though. As a lifelong baseball guy, how you keep busy and tough has this been for you?
Gosh, I think the first thing I would say, and this is the word that Coach Maneri has been using to lead our program through all this, is just perspective. My sister is a nurse who works every day at the hospital. She actually had the coronavirus and beat the coronavirus, fortunately.
Wow.
And I know there's many others out there who have the same story and maybe not such a good ending. And so it's devastating to everybody what is going on in the baseball world. But at the same time, it's nothing compared to what's going on for so many people in the world right now with this virus. And, I share all that. Certainly it's been challenging on a personal level. I've stayed busy by, getting back to my old passion of fishing a lot, which has been a lot of fun. A little different here in Louisiana. You got to dodge the snakes and the alligators, occasional snapping turtle, but the fish are really big, so that makes it worth it.
Yeah. And
as a program, we've social distancing is really important with the reptiles. Let me tell you, it's critical. It's critical. We've done a really good job, I feel like, as a program of staying in touch with our players. I think we've tried really hard to balance it between showing the love, showing the care, being supportive, but at the same time, not just doing stuff just to do stuff where the players are bored of it. I think that we've hit the sweet spot on that balance point as a program really well. And then, I've been working out probably more than I have certainly in the last 10 years, which my body's appreciating that, I think.
Yeah, good. At least your gym is still open.
The garage gym is, yeah.
All right, Eddie. Well, I really appreciate that. Any final thoughts you have for the fans up here in the VBL or around ball that you'd like to share?
I just appreciate all the work you all are doing, keeping everybody still excited about the sport in these crazy times. Hey, Valley League fans, hang in there. I know it's going to be a tough summer with no baseball, but this country has a history of having challenges like any country in the history of the world. But I think our history is marked by rebuilding after those challenges and being stronger than we ever were before. And I don't think this is going to be any different. And I know that the baseball community is ready to make a major comeback after this setback. And I know that, all the collegiate leagues out there, speaking specifically to the Valley League too, you all are a big part of the baseball community and looking for a great comeback whenever the virus lets us come back.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Eddie, very much for your time. You stay safe and tell your sister we hope that she is staying safe and doing great work in her job. And we all appreciate that effort that she's putting in, and everyone on our behalf. Please let her know that. Thank you again, and good luck with your program there at LSU.
All right, Joe. Thank you all.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Graham, back to you.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for us tonight for Monday, April 27th. Tomorrow night, yep, you guessed it, we're going to Catcher's U. Talk to Dan Jaffe. Look forward to seeing you all then. On behalf of the Valley Baseball League and all the teams in this league, we wish you all perfect health and a speedy return to the baseball diamond. Until tomorrow night, I'm Graham Knight for the Valley Baseball League. Have a good night and stay safe.